Hello everyone, my name is Syahmi. I'm a French linguistic graduate from University Putra, Malaysia, and this is Lepas Sekolah.
Shami, can you please introduce yourself and tell us about your education journey so far?
Before taking French linguistic at University Putra, Malaysia, I was doing my foundation studies in UITM Dengkil. I took a TESL route, which is Foundation in Teaching English as a Second Language. And before that, I went to Sekolah Bersama Penuh Integrasi Batu Rakit. Normally, the short form is BRAINS. So that's about it.
What kind of student were you when you were in secondary school?
4 years ago, I would say I'm a very active student. I joined a lot of competitions, mainly debate competition. The notable one would be Piala Perdana Menteri. I think my whole identity in my school is basically I'm a debater in the schools, and then I got to be enrolled in one of the students' organization as well as a leadership, which is Pemimpin Rakan Sebaya and so on, and we take it PRS and SBP very seriously. Yeah.
For students who might not know what life is like in Sekolah Berasrama Penuh or even in specifically Integrasi Batu Rakit, what was the school culture like?
So SBPI Batu Rakit is one of the four SBP in Malaysia who actually occupied with Timur program, which is translate to Tafiz Model Ulul Albab. So besides normal SBPI, where they learn Arabics and higher Arabics and so on, we had to take Hifzul Quran. So it's like a Tafiz lane. SBPI Batu Rakit is one of the schools that occupied with this program, and it became one of the schools that people wanted to go if they wanted to be a Hafizah and so on. So my school is basically occupied those programs since 2016. I'm their second batch of the programs, and currently, though all of the people in the school are fully Timur, we say, fully Tafiz. So before this, it was a combination of Tafiz and non-Tafiz program, but still a religious lane. So yeah, people will know this school by its Tafiz program. Besides, it's also an SBP. So yeah,
And if you don't mind me asking, at what age did you become a Hafiz?
16, form 4.
Obviously, now you're studying French at
Yep.
university. You studied Arabic in school. I imagine that you picked up English and Bahasa Malaysia naturally.
Yeah.
So, how many languages do you speak actually?
I speak 7 languages. Let's say seven.
Yeah. So,
Let's say seven.
let's talk through them.
I speak, saya boleh bercakap bahasa Melayu basically sebab di universiti saya berdebat dalam bahasa Melayu, saya presiden debat bahasa Melayu. I speak English because my mom is a English teacher. Got to be learning English naturally. 我可以讲华语，点点啦，我可以讲华语。Um, Arabic, I don't know how to converse it, but I can read it. And French, bonjour à tous. Je suis Syahmi Sarah. C'est la même chose. J'explique déjà, mais j'adore le français. Si tu veux apprendre le français, c'était très bonne idée. D'accord. And next, German. Hallo, guten Morgen. Mein Name ist Syahmi. Ich komme aus Terengganu. Ich bin 20 Jahre alt. Ich bin flüssig in Deutschland. Something like that. And Spanish, I get to understand Spanish, but I do not speak it very well. Yeah, that's about it. I think
Uh,
one of the problem is basically we had like code switching. I'm a very
yeah.
sometimes you're in this language, sometimes you're in this
Yeah,
language.
yeah.
Sometimes I mix up everything. So yeah,
So far, absolutely
yeah,
remarkable.
no, that's
Okay.
normal thing.
Now, looking back, right?
Okay.
What lessons did your high school give to you that perhaps has stayed with you until today?
One word: competition. Healthy competition is very important in your life. You have to have a competition. You have to be somebody who can compete whatever it is you doing. For example, like studying, right? You have to have that competitiveness in your life. Based on my experience, when you come from SPP schools, right, then you come to a whole studies ecosystem that combines everyone from around Malaysia and so on. There's no competitiveness like SBP taught me. SBP taught me to become a very competitive person, and we are not looking down to each others. We are basically helping down and teaching each others. But it's different to the life that I have now. So people are not helping you out if you're stuck in somewhere places or so on. So yeah, competitiveness is the best thing that I learned in SBP.
When you were in SVP, right?
Hmm?
What career path did you think you were going to take?
Obviously, lawyer, I would say. I bought the Federal Constitution book in SMO when I was in Form 3.
You finished it.
I finished it when I was in Form 3. I really wanted to be a lawyer back then, but somehow, life got changed. And
Looking back, if you could relive your years in SPM, is there anything you would have done differently?
I would love to have the knowledge of what I'm gonna do after this and what offers that maybe government will give to us, like scholarship and so on. I was so not rich with those kind of knowledge before this. I just know, after it's gonna be UPU, it's gonna be UPU. Beside not knowing, we had other things as well, something like Petronas GPE. Petronas GPE I know, but it's something else like Yayasan Khazana
Yes,
or
yes.
most of niche things, niche bodies that offer this kind of thing. If I were to relive my SPM, I would learn on how to go to France faster.
After SPM, you enrolled at UITM Dinkil's
Yeah.
teaching English as a second language course. It's a 1 year foundation. What did they actually teach you, and how do you find the program?
Foundation teaching English as a second language prep you to be an English teacher in IPTA in Malaysia, but it also gives you a structured program of English, and you can also pivot to mass communication, linguistics, public relations, international relations, and etc. I always think about English is a very easy thing during high school, but when I went to the UITM Dikil, I got different opinion because English was very very hard if you deep down it. Your item Denkil had a very profound program. It's like a niche kind of foundation in Malaysia. I think it's the only one who got those kind of specialization like foundation in test. It's very niche, right? It's very
Yeah.
specific. So yeah.
Why did you choose that path?
When I was filling up my UPU, it was COVID back then.
Okay, yeah.
And the norm are very quite different from now. So I can have those COVID post effect in my SPM as well. So I don't know what to do,
Yeah.
those kind of boredom that the teenagers had back then. And I think English will always be my niche, will always be my forte. So there's a foundation program in Tenkil, and my seniors in my high school back then, they always encourage us to go to UiTM Tenkil, and I would never regret it. It's a very great place to study, and learning English there open lots of other things, and I keep learning about English as well. So
You then went from English to pursue a degree in French.
yep.
So, at what point did French enter the picture?
After 1 year of learning English structuredly and so on, I think that it's very hard for me to actually acquire a language and for me to be a teacher. I think before this I thought it's gonna be a very easy kind of job. Oh, it's gonna you just have to teach English, but no. It's very, very hard program, hard things for you to master because you had to acquire the language fully to yourself, and then because you need to teach others, so you need to be somebody who actually masters everything back and forth in the language to do a teaching, right? Pedagogy and something like that, it requires you a passion. So I'm not sure, I don't have quite a lot of passion to be around kids, something like that. But maybe university students is something that I can work with. It's growing love towards it. Foundation in TESL also prep you to be linguists, others branches of languages and so on. And back then, I was hoping to enroll in German linguistics in University Putra Malaysia as my first choice. I put French as my second choice. French come up in my UPU result, so that's about it.
So, when you entered the French language degree in UPM, what was your level of French language comprehension?
Not, nothing.
So you can enter with zero.
Yes, they will start you with very basic one. Slowly jumping to the level and then a level.
First of all, how long is the program? What are the structures to it, and what do you study?
So basically, a Bachelor's of Arts in French Language Studies in University Putra Malaysia is one of the program offered under the Foreign Language Department in the Faculty of Modern Languages in UPM. Before this, it was a 3.5 to 4 years kind of program. And after a few years ago, they changed to 2.5 to 3 years only. So you will have to learn French in a very specific purpose of it. For example, you can also choose to be learning French for tourism, French for business, French for translation, or French for international relations, something like that. We have two universities in Malaysia offered this program. They're quite niche. One in University Malaya. The difference between us and UM is basically they are very linguistic coded. UPM they offered you French for specific purpose. Your track learning is going to be like how French is applied to these industries and these industries. You do not require to learn French. Learning French way before is a plus,
Yeah.
but it's not obligation for you to learn French before because they're gonna start you from very beginner level until you got to level B2 or C1. So I'm currently at level B2. You know, CEFR, you know,
Yeah.
A1, A2, B1, B2 is same like English.
Yeah.
They will prep you until you got B2.
What was your friends and your family's reaction when you told them that, hey, I'm gonna pursue a degree in French?
Yeah. Honestly, another reason I would say I wanted to pursue English teaching is because it was my parents' dream to see me becoming a teacher like them. Growing up in a family of parents who are teachers, I got always, you know, ecosystem is, you know, going to the schools as a kid, you know, see your mom as a teacher before this. And they really wanted me to be, you know, their replacement later, you know, to keep in the genes and so on. But after some realization, I bet it was not my dream. It was their dream. So I think I really wanted to do what I want to do. My mom was hesitant at first, but after some time, she think that you can do this, Syahmi, something like that. You know, the flair of the language, it's in the family. So yeah.
Do you think that Malaysian culture, or I guess in a bigger context, Asian culture, places a need for us to always pursue education that is more traditional? Law, engineering, medicine. Parents at a young age are always pushing these ideas onto you,
Yeah.
right? Do you think we're breaking that barrier?
Yes. I think I really love doing what I'm doing. And the idea of me saying that, guys, it's okay if you cannot be a doctor, or you cannot be a lawyer, or you cannot be a businessman, or you don't want to be you cannot be an engineer. That are the job for us to sustain the life, you see. It's not something that what we are living for. So the perks of pursuing social sciences, I would say you got to understand what life mean more structuredly and formally, you know, by receiving it in the form of education. And when you apply those things outside, you got to see different perspective in life. And then one of the best thing I could say, language is like the closest social science of the human. It's like the most human thing you can learn, because language will always be the reason why we have, because we cannot live in this life alone, you see. We got to be communicating. There will be a reason why we know each other. We got to meet somebody, we cross our path in life. There will be the reason for it. So pursuing these studies basically helped me to understand what meaning behind most of the things. So it's okay if you got parents to say, "Oh, you have to be a teacher, you have to be doctors, engineers, lawyers, and so on." But after 10 years of being a doctors, and then some people said, "Oh, it's not for them anymore." Then what the purpose of the life itself is, isn't it? If it's not, you know, communicating with people and so on. So yeah,
Have you watched a movie called Dead Poor Society?
yeah, one of it is implied in the what I said just now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's say if there's a young kid, right,
yeah,
out there who wants to go down a path that is less traditional, and they need to convince their parents, or let's say even if their parents are watching this particular interview,
yeah.
right,
Okay.
what would you say to their parents?
You had to let them to figure out themselves. Let them try what they wanted to do at very first place. You cannot push the dreams that you don't get or you don't achieve to your kids. It's not your kids to do it. They had to live another life and so on. It goes like that. So most of the people now in you know, not in Malaysia, it's mostly Asian household, I would say, they tend to push their kids to pursue something that they can't achieve before this. And it's basically rooted in our community, in our society now. If there's no passion, then there's no meaning in doing it.
Now that you've learned French for almost 3 years, right?
Mm,
French, I think, as a language is known for two things.
mm,
First is that people say it's a language of love,
mm,
which to me is extremely subjective.
mm,
Second is that it's a language of diplomacy,
mm.
which to me is objective, that it is a matter of fact. Now that you're in the ecosystem, how big is the ecosystem when it comes to French languages? What opportunities exist as a French language graduate?
Before I learned French, or maybe at least before I do my internship, I never thought the French communities or industries are very, very big in Malaysia. Let's take Malaysia as an example, right? Malaysia had become like a hub for industries due to our, position in, in the world, geographical reason as well, and so on. And our diplomacy is like, it's safe to be in Malaysia. It's, it's another kind of investors hub to do those things. And this kind of European companies, like French companies, they really wanted to have another offices in the Malaysia and so on. So I would say in Malaysia itself they have like a 700 companies with the French companies. But French companies coming to Malaysia, it require you, to be adapting with the local governments, laws and so on. There you need somebody who can actually process in the French language itself. You need somebody to understand the French language and, communicating between them. There will be very demand in the marketing because the French people, they wanted to understand how the local markets work and so on. So somebody who is actually local is needed, and you need to also acquire the language of French to be able to full in the position. Yep.
One part of your university life was that you went to study abroad for a bit
Yep.
at Universitas Gadjah Mada
Yeah, university.
in Java.
Yep.
How did that opportunity come about, and how was the experience like?
My exchange studies in UGM, Universitas Gadjah Mada, I got offered to do it by my faculties. And our dean in faculties is teaching French. They had like a MOU with all of the Indonesian universities who also got the same program like us. So I got offered to do exchange for the same program. I got to have enrolled in Introduction to Translation Studies, and then the exchange was about the translation
I
program.
see.
Yeah, specifically for translation learning lah.
What was the biggest difference in Malaysian academic culture and Indonesian academic culture?
We are not really the same actually. I would say if you want to study in Malaysia, it is easier for you to study in Malaysia because it's accessible. We have lots of education pathways, even if you're not going overseas and so on. If you stumble upon a very bad XPM grade and so on, you still had a lot of chances to go studies in Malaysia compared to universities in Indonesia. You had to fight for it. That was the reason why they are so passionate about doing those things, because the slots are limited to them. And to us, I think we are taking it for granted, I would say, because we don't feel the
Struggle.
purpose of why we are here studying and so on. Compared to them, they really literally fight their life on it, because the most big differences is basically you can see where in UPU they also have the same system. We got to choose 12 program.
Yeah.
So if one doesn't go out, the second one will choose, and the third one will, if the second one doesn't fit with us, it will go to number 3 until 12.
Yeah.
In Indonesia, you only got two choices. So if you failed the first one, and then you got to be the second one, and then if you fail the second one, then you're not gonna offer it for that year. So most of them, Indonesian, they took gap years a lot, and it's very pricey to go to studies and so on.
I think that was very, very insightful. Now, let's go back to Malaysia.
Okay.
Specifically, I want to speak about your role in debating. You mentioned that you picked up debating in SBP. In UPM, you serve as the president of the Malay Debate Club. I want to go back to the fundamentals and ask you, why debate?
Specifically, I debate in Malay language.
Yeah.
So I would say there would be a differences between how we notion the thinking between the languages of English and
Yeah.
Malaysia. English, they are very, freestyle kind of debates and so on. But Malay language debate, they are very structured and layered kind of debates. It's a very layered to the point that can go beyond everything when you debate in Malay language. So the reason why I started debating is basically I really like when I can convey what I wanted to say in a very discourse manner. Another reason would be I don't like to think like the rest. Maybe if my friends say A and B, I would say, oh, we got option C. Debating give me a lot of confidence in everything. It always bring me good whenever whatever I'm doing, even if communicating with people, conveying your ideas and so on. Doing thesis, it's structured your the ways of thinking.
Do you have a favorite orator?
During my high school, I have one debaters that I really look up. It was Hasha Atia. You see,
Okay,
you remember Hasha Atia, but she is an
I see. Okay.
English debater. I also like to watch to Sarah Salihan debates moment. That's about it.
Out of all the Malaysians to have ever lived, who is perhaps you think the best Malaysian orator of all time?
I don't think you know him. It's
Okay.
Zaki Zainal.
Okay. Who is he?
He graduated from SAS.
Okay.
He give coaches to public speaking and so on. I met him when I was in Form 1, so I don't have like much figure like a prime ministers or whatnot. It was somebody who are very normal to me, very normal kind of person. Susaki Zainal, I think he now had like a agency that provide this kind of consulting to those who wanted to have like a program or maybe training, mentoring with the public, speaking, something like that.
What do you think about the ability to listen and understand?
For you to be a good debater, right, this ability and the skill for you to speak comes number three. The first one and the second one is the listening and understanding. Good debater, they listen carefully. They don't give the opinion directly from what they're saying. So you had to understand certain things in the context first before you got to give your opinion about it. It's the way we structured the discourse in the debating. Nowadays people, they don't listen and they don't understand what they wanted to say at the very first place, so they just speak. So this is what we got when we got the ability to speak, freedomly and so on. Sometimes they don't think about it. Yeah, you have to listen first, understand first, and then you can speak to be a very good debater.
Now let's go to your experience with French Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
You're currently interning there
Yep.
as a translator assistant.
Yep.
So, do you mind talking us through the role? What do you do in your everyday life?
French Chambers of Commerce is a chambers of commerce in Malaysia that specifically caters France main industries. I assist in translating the documents with expatriates, legal documents and so on. To put it in a simpler words, our chambers provide a service where if you want to have a domiciliation of Malaysia in your company, you wanted to open a new office in Malaysia and so on, we are the first point of contact that you should go, because we are under embassies as well. The companies from France, they will come here in Malaysia to open up their own company here, new hub and so on. The law in Malaysia basically state that if you want to work here, you got to have like a work permit or expatriate pass or dependent pass, something like that. And those things is issued by immigration, and immigration doesn't understand French language. So this is where translator comes in to translate everything back to Malay or English so that they can process those kind of legalization of the documents and so on. I also got to do legalization at the French embassies. For example, like we help also French tourists to come Malaysia, so they wanted to drive, for example. So local authorities, they usually tolerate the French driving license, but you have to translate it first and
Mm.
legalize it at the French embassy.
Yep.
So I always went to French embassy to do the legalization as well. Another case, I would help Malaysian who wanted to move to France, so to deal with the Wisma Putra as well.
Yep.
With It's all about the documentation of to be legal
Yep.
in France or in Malaysia, something like that.
One language that is becoming more and more prominent is Mandarin.
Mm.
Right? The rise of China, how much China trades with the world. French was at one point perhaps a language of absolute importance. It's a language of diplomacy. France at one point was spoken in almost half of the world
Yeah.
when they had a massive colony. Some will argue that French as a language is dwindling, that it plays a less significant role today. With your experience having learned the language and being part of the ecosystem, do you agree with that notion?
Obviously, no. The French language, I wouldn't say it's the best language. We cannot have the notion to say that. A good language for us to learn, and for our language, Malay, to learn it as well. Imagine how they sustain the language, you see. For example, look at me, I'm learning French 1,000 miles away from France. And Malaysia is not only the only country who adopt this. We call this La Langue Française, Institut de la Langue Française. It's basically a Dewan Bahasa Pustaka for French. Every country in the world had the Alliance Française. So in Malaysia itself, we had two. So the idea of how they sustain their language is something that we can learn. As a Malaysian learning this language, I would say there's a lot of Malay can learn from French. In a way, they wanted to sustain the language. We are Malaysian, right? We don't, currently we're not speaking Malay, and so we're always putting our, language behind of everything, so on. And look at how French do it. Look at how French do sustain it and so on. They had people researching this, constructing this, and so on, and they're really, really careful about their grammars and so on. I would say learning French is something that will give you a career pathway. Yes, English would be something else, but people they tend to change to other things as well. Imagine if everyone in the world speak English, it will divert into other things as well. Learning French basically open you for another opportunities.
I want to ask you, what does the future hold for you? Where do you see yourself in the immediate future, meaning in the next 1 year? And where do you see yourself in the next five?
In the next 1 year, I'm gonna see myself be in Paris, studying French to more advanced of it. In the next 5 years, I will see myself being a researcher in the universities, and specifically social sciences affect our life.
And you're graduating soon,
Yep.
within this year. What options do you have moving forward?
I have some option on the tables. One of it is I'm gonna be studying masters in my universities, and then I'm gonna do some research attachment in one of the MOU's universities in France, and I got to be offered with few French jobs as well in Malaysia. One of it is procurement relation. I got to be a marketing executive in one of the French clubs, resorts in overseas as well. But I didn't sure yet which path I'm taking after this. I'm gonna need some time to slow down a bit, and then thinking about what I'm gonna do after this, after graduation specifically.
You've had a colorful education journey. So, what is something that you would change about the Malaysian education system?
I would change the ideas of nationalization of Malaysia, the way we perceive it in terms of education. The nationality of we learn about the nationality in Malaysia, right? Malaysia, they are tend to, for my opinion, I would say Malaysian they are a bit. I'm gonna be European a bit. I'm gonna be Japanese a bit. I'm gonna be. It's like a very messy kind of what we wanna be later on. So I would say this started with how our kids in school learn how the nationality of it. And for examples, like we got to learn sejarah in high school, and then when you went to university in Malaysia, you got to learn, kenegaraan and something like that. I think we need to change the way we cater to that kind of issues, because the best thing that I learned as a French student, when I learned their culture, their nationalization is basically on top notch. They put their kids to learn their histories, their national values on the very very good amount of attention to it. So when you have this kind of details about this investing in kids to something like that, the kids tend to have more civilization towards the development of the nation itself. And then they wanted to come back to France to be better for their countries and so on. So I would say Malaysian they don't truly understand what the national values they should have as a Malaysian itself. This is what learning a language teach me. Learning a language is politics. Politics is a language itself. I will change how we perceive or we give the national education to the kids in order for us to have a better vision of Malaysia itself.
Can you encapsulate your journey Lepas Sekolah in 3 words?
Exciting, encouraging, cool. I'm Syahmi and this is my journey in Lepas Sekolah.